Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, also streaming on Expert CRE Secrets, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust or 1031 exchanges are great ways for you to defer capital gains tax so you can create and preserve more wealth or help your clients, friends, and family do the same. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. He's out of the great state of New York. He's out of New York City. And he's the principal and head of Avison Young's Tri-State Investment Sales Group in New York City. As well, during his 25-year career, he has sold more than 500 properties and loans totaling over $5 billion. His accolades includes being named Commercial Observer's Power 100, CoStar's Power Broker, and receiving the Deal of the Year award by REBNY. He's also a serial real estate investor and has launched 2 real estate funds with total capitalizations of over $350 million and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, James Nelson. James, how are you doing?
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Brad.
For our listeners getting to know you for the first time, would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
Sure. So I'm now 25 years in the business after graduating Colgate in 98. Knowing nothing about real estate, I really lucked out. I found a great opportunity to start off as a sales associate at Massey Knakal Realty Services. I was there for 17 years, ended up being a partner. We sold the company to Cushman Wakefield. I had 3 great years there. In fact, in 2016, my team was the #1 sales team in Cushman for the entire country. And then got this incredible opportunity to build out the investment sale platform for Avison Young, a Canadian company that wasn't even in the U.S. till 12 years ago. We now have 60 offices here, over 120 around the world. My team of 36 sales professionals. We handle the sale of multifamily, retail, office, and land predominantly. So that's what I'm doing on the brokerage side, but investing is definitely a passion of mine. And I'm sure we'll get into it in our conversation, but I've got my own podcast named The Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing, which is also the name of my upcoming book, which McGraw-Hill is releasing in January.
Amazing. And that's actually the topic of today's show, which is The Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing. If you want to connect with James right now, you can go to jamesnelson.com. That's jamesnelson.com. But before we dive into those secrets, James, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. So I want you to go back perhaps to your younger days, James, maybe high school, maybe college, right? Whatever it might have been. And think about it, right? What are the 1 or 2 strengths that you believe you were given? And how does that help how you help and bless people today?
It's a great question. And in college, growing up, I was a swimmer, D1 athlete, and ended up being the captain of our team at Colgate. And not what I would call a powerhouse swim program, but yeah, D1 nonetheless. And look, I think you definitely have to be wired in a certain way to compete at that level. Obviously, a lot of hard work, but I also, and it's kind of my style today, really try to lead by example. We've got a great team here on the investment sales side. In fact, I was just with them this morning. We have a roundtable every morning. And so, yeah, I just hope that I can be an example to others, and, with the podcast, the book, hoping that I can help others become successful investors themselves. So that's my passion.
Excellent. So it seems like competitor, obviously hardworking, and leading by example are some of the major strengths of James Nelson.
Thank you. Yes.
Excellent. Well, great. Let's dive right into the secrets of real estate investing, right? What's the #1 secret to insider's edge, to having an insider's edge to real estate investing?
Well, I love investing in real estate because it is an insider's game. So opposed to investing in the stock market where everybody has the same information, anyone can go and research a stock price at any minute of the day. Whereas we know real estate, it's an inefficient marketplace. You could have 2 buildings that sell on the same street. One could be worth double than the other. Maybe that's because it has better income or it's renovated, or it might be because the seller listed and got great exposure for the property and sold it at the highest price, where the other building sold off market at below market. And I love the fact that this business is a people business. It's who you know and your connections, and you do an incredible service for your clients. And by working with professionals and knowing having the right team in place, you really can outperform the market.
Absolutely. So it's true, right? Real estate, the information can be imperfect, right? And unless you're willing to dig for that real estate information and understand it, and sellers sometimes don't want to give that information. Some do, and you're right. There could be two buildings on the same street. One sells for double the price for a number of reasons versus the other one, and so you can have that insider's expertise or mentality, really perseverance and grit to get to that information. Is that a fair summary for the first secret?
Yeah.
Excellent. What's secret number 2 to having an insider's edge to real estate investing?
Well, I think to gain the edge, you need to specialize, right? And you need to have knowledge. So for me, when I started off in the brokerage business, what that meant was focusing on a territory. And I give credit to the founders of my company who kind of laid out this structure. But with only 3 to 6 months in the business, I studied every single block in Chelsea and downtown Manhattan. And I will tell you that even though my real estate IQ was nowhere close to veterans who'd been in the business for decades, what I will say is by studying that neighborhood, I knew more about the area than anyone else. So when I give advice to those looking to start out investing, oftentimes the advice is, start in your own backyard. But if not, pick an area, study it, get to know everything about the sales in the area, where are properties trading for, where are rents, what are the new developments, what are new infrastructure projects. If you really can specialize and get that expertise, again, that is also going to help you really unlock the value and gain that insider's edge to investing.
It seems like you almost want to be a doctor who studies and practices, like someone might study a certain part of the body, if you will, like a brain surgeon or a knee surgeon, right? And become an expert in that area. Your body, if you will, is that particular territory, right? That particular part of the city, those particular square blocks, but even more so the specialty of industrial, retail, office, multifamily. And you want to become have the most knowledge and expertise of every single like nuance. Is that a fair summary?
That's exactly right, Brett. I love that analogy. And I also like the expression of, what was it? Jack of all trades, master of none. So, and there's a lot of generalists in the business. And look, after you've been doing this for a while and you've got a great team, like for example, my team handles the sale of all different asset classes in New York, but I have specialists on my team that know all the ins and outs of how to operate multifamily housing, which in New York is really complicated, right? We have all these rent regulation, all these rules, whereas if you're talking about development, ground up, understanding zoning, retail, it could be understanding where retail rents are, the way leases are structured, you get the idea. So but by all means, you want to be the specialist and have that knowledge, which is going to help you outperform the competition.
And you can learn more about James Nelson by going to jamesnelson.com. That's jamesnelson.com. Hey, James, I can't help but think that you sound like a rock star like singer, right? Or like you used to be in a band, or like you're the head, So do you get that a lot, James?
Well, I had a brief stint in boarding school, but no, let's say I have not quit my day job. So I think I've found my niche here, doing brokerage, but also like I said, I love investing as a limited partner. I also raised 2 funds to go out there and put out JV equity for value add deals. And I love the podcast because you get to meet a lot of interesting people and you get a lot of great feedback, and we'll see what comes with the book next.
It sounds like you like to take action, right? And I love that about you. So let's move that into the number 3 part of taking action and having the insider's edge to real estate investing. So after you have knowing that the mindset is it's an insider's game, those who can uncover the knowledge and get to know the people, right? And get to know obviously the specialization of the geographical location of the properties and such. And then you can get that edge, right? And that edge is going to help you with your investing or help you broker more deals. What's the number 3 secret, would you say, to gaining an additional edge or just real estate investing in general?
Right. So we already talked about it a little bit, but having the right team. So now you understand, the why of real estate investing. You've focused on an area. Now you have to build the right team. The right team is with specialists. And again, you are looking for, don't just go to your attorney who does your trust and estate work, or a generalist. If you are looking to buy a multifamily, you want to make sure that you are working with an attorney who has helped other clients acquire and do the legal work for multifamily, right? And even beyond the transactional work, you have a landlord tenant attorney to actually review the leases and see what that looks like. If you're looking to do development, you're going to need a zoning attorney. So it really is having the right team and having that network, okay? So you can, when you see a great opportunity, you can actually act on it. So, now you know what you're buying, who the team is, the one other piece, because a lot of the times I hear, well, James, this all sounds great, but I don't have the money to put in a deal right now. How do I get started? Well, one of the most important members of that team is a trusted partner. And if you get one thing out of our podcast, our recording today, what I would say is, what you can bring to the table is a great opportunity. And I said, Brett, I have this unbelievable deal. I've been studying this market for close to a year. I've got all the comps. I found this deal off market. I believe that we're buying this at a third below market price. You got a great track record. Can we do this together? I would like to join. I'm happy to try to raise money around this. I have a little bit of money I can put into this, but can you include me in the deal? Give me some sweat equity in this deal. I would like to learn alongside you. Could we be co-GP partners and go and do this deal together? So you do that, you're off to the races.
Okay, I'm gonna unpack that a little bit. This is amazing, right? So having the right team, perhaps it sounds like you might want to have like the dream team, the dream team being like, who are the best in each of their specialty, the zoning attorney, a multifamily attorney, a landlord lease attorney, not just a generalist attorney, right? And especially not just like with what we do, a lot of people are like, well, isn't like, it's just a trust, right? Like I have my living trust attorney. I'm like, that's for probate. And that there's definitely estate planning for that. It's important. But for exit planning, advanced exit planning, it's completely different. And there's thousands of different trusts. And we're like a niche focus on the exit planning of this. And so you want to have the same thing as you're building your real estate dream team. And that has to do with especially a trusted partner, right? Where someone might be the capital partner or the expertise or even the operator. And you might be the bird dog who's going to find the deal, uncover the deal, maybe tie up the deal. And then perhaps say, hey, look, let me be a co-GP. Let me also put all the work and effort into this as we operate so you can learn alongside of them. Is that a fair summary, James?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yes.
That is so great. And then at this point, you've done maybe one or two or three, and then now you perhaps don't need or want the other GP. You might, you could keep going. You can do bigger deals together. But the key is, don't try to do it all on your own, right? Be the capital raiser, be the operator, be the bird dog who's finding it, who's developing the broker relationships, develop that team. So I'm curious on that co-GP part, James, how do you find an equitable way to make it incentivizing for both sides, right? This is probably an art and a science to hear. Sometimes I see groups that are doing, 2, 3, 4, 5 co-GPs. Like how many cooks is too many cooks in the kitchen? Like walk us through your mindset and mentality of figuring that whole, I call it a Rubik's Cube, right? It's like, how are you going to line this thing up to make it as, congruent as possible?
Well, every deal and partnership is different, and you have to start with really looking at who's bringing what to the table. Okay, so obviously there's the deal, which is the first part, who is actually bringing the opportunity, but to your point, who's going to actually execute and do the day-to-day work on that, right? But then who's going to bring the capital to the table, right? And there's things like, okay, well, we're going to go out and get a loan. Does someone need to guarantee that loan? Okay, well, who's signing for that? So there's a lot of different things that play into it. Look, everybody loves the idea where, hey, I'm going to go find this great opportunity. Don't worry, I'm going to put in all the effort, give me half the deal. If you're not putting up any of the money, I think that's going to be challenging to get a partner comfortable on that. And what I would suggest is, Brett, for your first deal or two, don't hold out for every last penny. It's more important that you get the right partner. And the right partner might say, look, I'm not going to let you promote off me at all. I'll let you come along. I'll let you learn. It is so much more important. You got to play the long game here. It's so much more important to get the right partner to make sure that all the investors that you bring along for the deal, that you do right by them and that the project is a success. And then after you've done a couple of those out under your belt, now you have your own track record that you can leverage. And then you have enough capital you can bring to the table. Then you can say, hey, really appreciate you're giving me my start, but this is the fourth deal that we've worked on. This is how it's kind of divided up. For this one, I'd like to take the lead. What do you think?
Amazing. JamesNelson.com. That's JamesNelson.com. I want to go into a little bit more nuance on this, right? And you mentioned the right partner, right? It basically don't jump over dollars to pick up dimes. Don't jump over your partner, right, to pick up the pennies, right? Make sure you are really giving, right? It's like the go-giver mentality, right? Give more and serve more and be because if you're typically asking someone to come in, they probably have, in the beginning especially, more to offer to you or more to offer to the opportunity than you do, although you found it, right? So they're in a sense doing you the favor, I would imagine, perhaps in the beginning, although they're looking for the opportunity as well. But as that relationship goes on, who's bringing the money to the table? Who's bringing the deal to the table? Who's going to execute on the day-to-day? Does someone need to guarantee the loan, right? Who is signing for it? All of these things are so important. So that nuance, James, of maybe walk us through the time that it maybe wasn't the right partner, or maybe you weren't the right partner, right? Like, and how did you massage that or make that a better, outcome for everybody? Walk us through maybe a story or something like that. Sure. You can think of.
Yeah, and Brad, I think it's important for everyone to also analyze, how much time do you have to devote to this, right? So I have a full-time job as an investment sale broker, right? And it's also a potential conflict if I'm out there buying and trying to broker as well. So for myself, I feel more comfortable in a limited partner role. Okay. I'm really good at bringing people together. Maybe it is finding the opportunity, but then I want that general partner to run with it. Now, when we went out and raised over $50 million to go invest, put out as JV equity, that's how we approached sponsors who had great deals. We brought the money to the table. Now, we had major decision-making rights. So if they wanted to sell the property, if they wanted to make a major expenditure, but we were not doing the day-to-day. So I think a lot of this, there's no one answer. You really have to assess for yourself, is this going to be a full-time career for you? Do you have the time to devote to this? Do you have the risk tolerance, right? Everybody says, oh, I want to be a developer. I want to promote everybody. I want to make these massive returns. Well, hey, personally guaranteeing a loan, and everybody, of course, prefers non-recourse. But if you kind of go out the risk curve, and today when financing is getting more challenging, a lot of these lenders are going to be asking for a guarantee and being on the hook personally, like that's a big deal. Do you have the risk tolerance as well? So I would really suggest, the listeners really need to analyze their own situation and do what's best for them.
So well said. Yeah. Analyze, and be thoughtful about this, right? Don't rush into the partnership. Make sure you're getting outside opinions and thoughts, and obviously everything in writing, and you're very clear about what the expectations are, how much time you're going to put into it, how much risk you're willing to take, and be willing to see what your biggest strengths are. That's kind of what I'm hearing, James. So yeah, maybe you want to talk about a deal story now. I'm curious also what you think about the market overall. Like right now, we're shooting this in late December 2022, and things have changed with interest rates and cap rates. Well, maybe not even cap rates that much, but maybe you're seeing that shift where you're at in Manhattan. Let's just talk about what's your temperature. What inning are we in with this market? Where do you feel like commercial real estate investments are going right now? Where are lenders and getting deals done at? Kind of give us your overall feel for the market right now.
Sure. So what we're seeing in New York right now, with this unprecedented increase in interest rates, is a lot of buyers are on the sidelines right now. They're saying, well, look, if rates keep going up, pricing's going to go down. So I'll do better if I just wait, right? So that's what happens when there's uncertainty. Buyers, try to sit out. Sellers say, hey, I don't want to sell going into a down market. I hope things recover. So what you see is a big drop off on the number of transactions. And we're already seeing in New York, there was a 16% decline last quarter in the number of transactions. I think it's going to be a lot more severe by the end of this year, even early next year, because again, for that very reason. Okay. That being said, with all these buyers on the sidelines, there's opportunities out there. And that's because, and I write about this in the book, there are sellers who have to sell regardless of timing. They whether it's an estate sale, whether it's a partnership dispute, whether it's distress. Look, if you're a discretionary seller, of course you're not going to sell into this market as rates are going up, pricing's coming down. You'll try to wait, right? But those looking for those opportunities and asking, what is the seller's motivation? That is the most important question you can ask a broker, and you'd be shocked how rarely investors ask me, hey, James, why is your client selling? What's the story, right? And what you see is some incredible opportunities. So, and this goes back a little bit, but early in 2020, I was working with an estate. They had a 72-unit apartment building with a restaurant in the heart of Greenwich Village. And we had a contract out at $32 million. COVID hits. We think we didn't know if it was the end of the world. I mean, we're talking April, May. We had no idea. We're going to be in this for weeks, months, years. And so, but this estate needed to settle, and this building was a mess. It was half empty. They'd shut off the gas in the building. I mean, with COVID and everything, it was a disaster. And, no doubt that $32 million buyer walked, but, a couple buyers stayed on it. Fast forward 60 days later, we contract close on the property for $22 million. So look, there's no doubt a lot of uncertainty in the market. Who knows, where it was headed, but what I would suggest to you is, if we were not dealing with an estate that had to sell, I don't know many sellers who would take a $10 million discount in 60 days, right? And so I think if you subscribe to the Warren Buffett school of investing, which is, be greedy when people are fearful, be fearful when those are greedy, right? What's happening right now is there's a lot of fear out there, and there's a lot of investors on the sidelines, and these can be the opportunities. And, on my podcast, I've interviewed, billionaires like Don Peebles, who said, look, the best deals that I ever made were in the bottom of the market when no one else was buying.
JamesNelson.com, JamesNelson.com, learn more. Amazing Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing. He has this new book out. You want to check that out. It's called The Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing. I want to shift real fast. You talked about billionaires, you talked about estate sales, right? And there's part of what we do here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions is give people an alternative to the 1031 exchange, and to be able to defer capital gains tax, as well as eliminate estate tax in a very creative way. But I'm curious, James, what would you say is the biggest frustration when it comes to the 1031 exchange and or just estate tax planning for your ultra high net worth clients?
I think a lot of our clients, they wait, and they just don't get ahead of things. They don't do the research up front, and then they're kind of, they're trying to scramble and do this after the fact, or families where the patriarch or the matriarch didn't plan for this, and then they leave this asset to the kids. The kids don't even want the property, and it's a mess. So, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I think that the sooner you can get ahead of these things and make it part of the discussion. And we really, when we take on a listing for sale, we really try to ask the owner, what's your plans after the sale? Are you looking to reinvest the proceeds? Because if we know that, we can help structure the sale in a way that gives, those sellers time, right? And as you know, once you go on the 1031 clock, you've got 45 days to identify after close, within 180 days. And we can, stretch out that closing period, as long as we have a buyer who doesn't have their own 1031 that needs to perform in a certain time frame. But we can have a flexible closing period, so our clients can be out there looking for great, investment, reinvestment opportunities without being on the clock. So I think the advice is you want to really use the time up front to be strategic about your planning.
Yeah, very well said. And if you want to learn more about ways to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange, or even save a failed 1031 exchange, eliminate estate tax, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. In fact, I want to invite you to our no-cost mastermind. And it's every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, where we dive through live deal stories that are closing, walk through frequently asked questions, and really just try to make simple what's actually possible if you're exiting a business, cryptocurrency, real estate, you're in a 1031 exchange, a primary home, not using a 1031 exchange, using something that's very innovative, but also tried and true. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to learn more about that. All right, James, that being said, we're running out of time. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Knowing what you know now, Mr. James Nelson, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget and make sure to tell yourself to do?
Start buying property earlier.
In 2023, if there's one hire or one thing that you can do that's going to propel your business to the next level, what do you think that is?
I think it's going to be all about the book for me next year, Brett. I want to get the word out there. I want to make it a Wall Street Journal best seller and just get the word out there.
Excellent. All about the book. I love it. Question number 3. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm really interested to see where this state of the office market's going. I mean, I really, that there's a lot of mixed messages out there with the return to office post-COVID. There's going to be a lot of implications. So we're thinking now about alternative uses. There's no doubt way too much office product out on the market right now. Can we convert it to other uses such as residential? So spending a lot of time there.
Excellent. What's your number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
Number one leadership quote. Oh, geez.
Or theme. It could just be a theme too.
I love the work ethic of Goggins. I don't know. I just like that guy just doesn't stop. So, I'm listening to his new book on audio right now. So
what's the book called there?
Well, Can't Hurt Me is was the last one that he wrote. So, okay. Always worth checking out.
Check it out. Awesome. Great. Last question, James. After all your success, helping all the people you've helped and all the things you've accomplished, I'm curious, what's the number one habit you practice to stay centered in your values and stay charged up to charge forward for new heights?
I think it's just consistency. It's and I know we're around the New Year's and everybody has their New Year resolutions. I mean, I've been doing the same thing for my 25-year career. Maybe it's boring, but I get up at 5 a.m. I get my workout done. I get into the office early, get all my paperwork done, and then just efficient during the workday, and so I can get home and spend time with my wife and my 3 kids. So it's just being disciplined and nothing crazy beyond that, right? But it's just I think it's the consistency.
I love it. Hey, James Nelson, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing with us so much wisdom. Man, we covered a ton in 27 minutes here. I want to encourage you to keep being a competitor, to keep leading by example, to keep taking action, and keep helping your team members and your clients create and preserve more wealth. James Nelson, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so thank you for mentioning my website, jamesnelson.com, where you can find my podcast, show notes, pre-order the book there, find it on Amazon. And then if you want to connect with me, I'm very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, starting to do more on Twitter, James Nelson NYC.
Amazing. Thanks, James. Also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions Podcast, also streamed on Expert CRE Secrets Podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax referral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. And using a proven tax referral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, to eliminate the need for the 1031 exchange is an amazing way for you to exit highly appreciated assets or help your clients create and preserve more wealth in really creative ways. Also, getting with someone like James Nelson, getting a book about an insider's edge from someone who has a massive amount of knowledge and is ready to serve and help you out. You want to check out his book, The Insider's Edge to Real Estate Investing, by going to jamesnelson.com. But if you want to connect with me and our team, we are happy to connect with you. Go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, where you can start to prepare and plan your exit plan so you can defer millions of dollars of capital gains tax and or eliminate estate tax. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Please rate, review, subscribe. Please share this so it can inspire today and help out. We so appreciate all of the support online, and check out our YouTube channel and check out our free ebook we have as well on capitalgainstaxsolutions.com.